Peace, 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 everyone, and welcome. I'm heading home right now, and yesterday was a pretty exciting day. I was working at the fire department, and we got a structure fire, and a structure fire is one of those events that is like a high risk situation and a low frequency situation. So those can potentially be the most dangerous because we don't do it often, yet there still poses a lot of risk. There's a lot of variables, moving parts, and things that can go wrong, and through that, obviously, there's some steps and some things that we can do to basically make the work and make that process a little bit easier. And being on the working side of it, and then having the understanding from an entrepreneurial side, moving from a working standpoint to also the business standpoint, the head of the snake versus the body of the snake. Having both of those vantage points, I'm able to kind of see things a little bit differently. And so I'm going to share that stuff with you guys today. And basically just an introduction, part one, to how to make work a little bit easier for you, moving forward. So one of the things on a fire scene and a structure fire is that there's just a ton of moving parts. There's different people doing an assortment of tasks, and basically everybody on the scene has the combined goal of extinguishing the fire, protecting property and saving lives. That's basically what we do as a fire department. And with that understanding, it then breaks down a little bit further into the different tasks that are needed to accomplish that. And so, one of the things that can make us move into this area where we have um, a mass amount of work be accomplished with less effort is where we start to dive into the idea of heavy hands, right? We have this adage in the fire service of heavy hands makes light work, in the sense that the more people you have, the more personnel, um, the easier it is for us to accomplish the task, right? Just because there's more people. Of course, there's a trade off with that because as you have more people on scene, there is an increase in the possibility of something going wrong or somebody making a mistake or not carrying out a task properly, and then in turn creating greater chaos in the long run, or in the process of trying to break things down. So when you look at things from like an entrepreneurial standpoint, I know when I first came into becoming an entrepreneur, I was used to being the body of the snake and having to do a majority of the work and making sure that um, I had a strong understanding on everything that was going on within the business. And so I was heavy, heavy, heavy into doing a lot of the work myself, and working working from a standpoint of um, just really trying to do everything myself. I can do it on my own. I can do it on my own. I talked to you guys about time, energy, and resources being like our three greatest assets when it comes to creating a business and really utilizing our time, and our energy and our resources. All of those things have certain limitations, and there's like a variable of trying to balance those three elements and saying, okay, well, if I have an excess amount of time but not as much resources, then I can do things more myself. Or if I have a little bit of extra resources, a little bit of extra time or connections, network, then I can try to outsource these things and save myself a lot of time. So working on that fire ground yesterday, it's a high stress situation, a lot of moving parts, like I said, and it was awesome to see how everyone was able to come together to again work toward that common goal. And so one of the things that we need to note on this heavy hands making light work is that there has to be a system. All right, and obviously for the fire department, um, it's been a long tradition, right? The fire service has been evolving since the 1910s, 1920s, 30s. It really started to, compound. And then over the last 30 to 40 years, it's really made huge strides in its progress in, you know, tools and tactics and just different supplies that we have and resources. So we it already has that infrastructure of knowing, um, different tactics. And there's a mass amount of fire departments out there. In every community, there's at least a volunteer department or a paid department. And so people are able to put that information out onto the internet and make it a source that is available to other people. So there's magazines, there's internet articles, things that we can read on different, tactics. Again, one of the biggest over the last couple years is like a wind-driven fire. Before, we used to open up all the windows to help get the smoke out so that we can see, but now we've seen that smoke or the open windows is actually feeding the fire more oxygen, making it intensify. So again, just evolving as we go. So when it comes to your business or even your personal life, and that's kind of like a very important note, something that I've been learning. I've heard it before and I've had an understanding on it, but that understanding is growing every single day as I realize that our life should be managed as a business. Um, that immediately turned me off when I heard it the first time, because I thought to myself, like, I just want to like be able to escape, having to do stuff and having to like maintain a schedule and a priority and all this different stuff, because I already have to do that with work, and now I'm doing my entrepreneurial stuff. Like, I just kind of want to be able to step back from that all and take a break, like let my mind, rest a little bit. And of course, maybe you guys share that same thought process as I said that. Um, I was mistaken, and as I'm becoming more familiar with it, what it is just giving yourself in your personal life, business life, whatever it is. Here we're talking about our personal life, giving yourself the opportunity to sit down and just pencil some stuff in. It's literally like not watching TV that night, or on your day off, just taking an hour out of your day to just schedule and just try to build a system around what you feel is how you want to spend your time in your day. And all it does is it lets you know when you're veering off of that plan and off of that path. Because I know I've had it many times in my life where, and just daily, it's just daily life where we're really wanting to do something that day. We're like, okay, as we wake up, I got this, and that to do. But as the day progresses, you just unconsciously will say, turn on the television, or you open up your phone and you're scrolling on social media for hours. And all this time passes where now you look at your time and you're like, great, now I don't have time to do all those things I said. Now I got to, start taking stuff off the list. Maybe you start to feel bad that you had to take stuff off of your list, so you just take everything off of your list. Um, Again, it can spiral, and sometimes it's just those subtle things can really compound and snowball into really getting us off of our path. So when we build this infrastructure, it's just like a friendly gesture. It's almost like having an assistant. When you, especially, put it down on paper. Put it down on paper, because if you just have it in your mind, it's just going to be like all those to-do lists and all those things that you had in the first place that are just kind of go by the wayside. Um, so put it down on paper. It makes it that much different and that much more powerful, because it's there. It's something that you sat down, took time, wrote it out, and that's what you want to follow. And of course, it's easier to follow when it's in your face. Sometimes I've seen people put like post-its on the dash of their car, so while they're driving, they say, okay, do your YouTube video, go to the bank, or look up this product, or read for 15 minutes, whatever it is. They put it somewhere visible so that they can see it. And there's a whole influx of things that I've expanded on a lot in previous videos, so you guys can of course go check those out. um, and I'm probably going to start working on a course on just trying to help you guys manage and put together this priority list and this infrastructure in your life. I've just been finding that a lot of people that I've been speaking to on it, um, are really finding it beneficial. Of course, I find it beneficial, and there's that element, that layer of, well, if I find it beneficial, are you guys going to find it beneficial, or is this just something for me? So the feedback that I've been getting, maybe it's not for you, but I have the strong gut feeling that it's going to be something that helps you. It's already starting to make huge strides, in my life as I'm taking it more and more serious, understanding this infrastructure and this business approach to, my personal life. Um, so as we bring that all the way back to, the fireground scenario, um, with everything going on and all that chaos, it all gets pushed aside because we've trained, we have tactics, we have premeditated approaches. We call them standing operating procedures. So we already know this is the procedure for this given situation. Of course, what it allows is for some flexibility. It says like these are the different priorities to maintain. Some of these, may come at different times, different phases, depending on the conditions, the structure. So just like you build into your personal plans, you gotta allow for that flexibility. I was explaining that I think maybe my last video about having that plan A, B, and C, or plan 1, 2, and 3, where if at nothing less, you at least build it into your mental thought process that hey, this is my plan A. I'm absolutely putting my best foot forward, but I need to at least mentally prepare myself for what option 2 and option 3 or option B and C might turn out to be. um, I've seen both sides of the coin. I've had some people reach out to me and say like, I like having just plan A because plan A means that I have to make it work, and that plan B is not an option. And I, I've done that. I've been there, but just again, if you don't want to create an entire plan B and something like you can fall back on, you can still heavily invest in plan A, but put it in your mental thought process that plan B is possible. There's something that might go wrong, something that might be a little bit different than what you had envisioned, because we all have blind spots. And working with my mentors, that's like the best gift of working with a mentor. It's just, at least in my opinion, is just highlighting those blind spots, highlighting those things that um, you're not allowing yourself to see, or you're just not there yet, or as you're building into a new phase, into a new tier of your life, you're just not, you don't even know it's there. You don't know to anticipate that. So having mentors and having people that have experience in the path that you're taking, it's just extremely, extremely, extremely valuable for you and for your family and for your business. Um, but I think you guys already know my standpoint on working with mentors. Obviously, I have my ebook. If you haven't heard by now, it's on my website, jrsinspires.com. Again, jrsinspires.com. It's a free download. I made it very quick and simple to read. It's also available in audio version so that you guys can get the information you need and put it to direct use immediately. And you can continue to revisit as you hit those different tiers of your life. Um, I've kind of been sharing with you guys that I'm entering this new tier, and it came with some struggles. It came with some setbacks, and I was thinking to myself, man, this the struggles, the setbacks. I wasn't really anticipating this. This must mean that I'm doing something wrong, and you know, I think that's somewhat natural for us to go through. It's natural for us to feel like, you know, why isn't it going smoothly? Like I planned all this stuff. Like I, prepared myself. I paid my dues, or I've um, researched. I've gotten the knowledge on it, and why isn't all of this coming together? A lot of times the setbacks are there just to give you that layer of experience, that extra, of information that you're not going to get in the textbook, or you're not going to get even by asking a mentor. There's just those things that we have to learn ourselves. So I urge you strongly that as you go through your struggles and your setbacks in life, understand that it may feel like you're going backwards, or you're going in the wrong direction of what you really want in life, but at the same token, it could very well be that the universe is preparing you for that next tier. It's teaching you those things that are going to make you be able to not just get to that next tier, but be able to stay in that tier and continue moving forward and progressing in the direction that you want. So struggles shouldn't be frowned upon. I know it's tough. I know sometimes that it can really ruin our overall like outlook and how we thought things were going to go. But you know you have power over that thought. You have the power just as much as it comes into your psyche to say, man, this is a crap situation. Just being honest. Like this is a crap situation. Not what I wanted, not how I saw it. You have the power to change that thought. You have the power to say, hey, I'm moving into a new tier. The universe is providing me with opportunities to, become more equipped, to become better evolved as a person that can handle this next tier with grace, with power, with poise. Those are absolute things that you can feed into your mind, because you have that power, you have that control, um, and it's just being able to weather those emotions as they come in and kind of getting you off that path, just like those distractions that we are always talking about. Um, so training is important, and building that infrastructure is absolutely imperative to help you make your work easy. Okay, and then the heavy hands. The second part to it is starting to outsource things. I was firmly against outsourcing, like I was sharing with you at the beginning of this video. I would also read. I would read, the two sides of the story, right? Where one person's like, you need to know everything backwards and forwards about anything that you ask somebody else to do. So if you ask somebody to put together an Excel worksheet, you need to know how to do an Excel worksheet. Or if you ask someone to look into property, you want to invest in real estate, you need to know at least the fundamentals and the numbers on what they're supposed to look like before you pass that stuff on. And of course, that is good information. You do want to have a grasp on knowing what's going on, but you don't have to necessarily be at the point where you are a professional at it. So I am not a professional Excel spreadsheet person, or well, I am technically a real estate agent. That's something totally different, but um, we'll just say a professional real estate investor, or whatever it is that you have going on in your life. Um, you don't have to reach that level of professionalism in that area before you outsource it to somebody else. And the reason why we want to outsource it, and that's what a lot of people, I don't think, realize with a business. Like, the fire department is a business, right? We have people as firefighters, drivers, captains, lieutenants, the people that are on shift working on the apparatus, the medic units and rescues, or the fire trucks, or whatever, wherever you're from, whatever you call them, the apparatus that are in the streets working the shift schedules. We are the employees of that system, and so they are outsourcing that job to us, right? So there's all this infrastructure, all this stuff that a lot of times, people don't see, or even care to understand. Which, if you're not into it, you don't care to look into it, you don't really need to worry about it. As an employee, when you trade your time for money, that's your main focus, right? Is making sure, whether you're enjoying what you're doing, or if you are in a position where you're trying to get the most money possible, then you're looking for the highest paying position that's going to, make your time more valuable. But as you look into the business side and the infrastructure of it, you get this understanding that, even as a fire department or a police department, um, any business that you go to, construction, there's construction all over the place. There's these boots on the ground, as they call it, of people that are doing the work, and then there's people above that are kind of orchestrating, the ins and outs that are making sure that the business is sustainable, and that the business is going to continue moving in the right direction. Um, if we looked at it from like a stock standpoint, businesses that are run from those higher ups are basically making sure that the stock is moving up and to the right, right? So as time is going on, it's moving to the right. That's the time standpoint, and then up is obviously more profitability, more value within the business. So that's their primary objective, and so they're outsourcing all that work to us, to the employees. Or if you're the CEO, you're outsourcing stuff to the employees, and so as you come into entrepreneurship, or even your lifestyle, um, I remember, like, growing up, we always did our own laundry. Our parents had us do our laundry. Um, I mean, Saturdays was, I lived in a pretty classic Spanish household. My mom would put on the music, and that was it. You knew it was time to start cleaning on a Saturday morning. You couldn't go outside to play. You couldn't do anything until your chores were handled, and everything was kind of kind of checked, and it was almost like checking in with boss. You know, you go up to mom like, "Hey, am I good? Can I go now?" And then she would release us to go play, and but it was good. You know, I learned I learned how to do laundry. I remember getting started at the fire department. I got in pretty young, and the people that I worked with, I was so young, I guess, that they were looking at me like, do you know how to work a dishwasher and a laundry machine? And it's like, yes. You know, I did chores, so I'm good there. Um, but where was I going with that? So the infrastructure in the family, that's what it was. So the infrastructure in the family. So I've grown up doing all those chores, and it's still carried over to today. You know, we do our laundry, we do our own dishes, we cook our own meals. But there's a very real possibility that as things start to scale in your life, that you welcome the fact that there might come a time where your time is more valuable spent working with clients or working on your business, and those tasks are better to be outsourced. And there's businesses that are established that have, people that will come clean your house, or people that will, professional cooks. Those are all very real possibilities if you get to that tier. And people sometimes hinder the development and the growth of their business because they don't want to give up the home life, or they don't feel that it's necessary. And that's a very normal thing. But again, as you expand and you really take your life as a business and your business as a business, you will see that building that infrastructure and saying, you know what, maybe these are some things that I can start to outsource to allow myself, again, more time, more energy, maybe more resources. Because as you take some things off your plate, there's more room to put things on your plate, to fill it with more valuable time, consuming things. Maybe even spending time with your family. Sometimes, we overlook that. We're so busy, um, trying to maintain the household and make sure that, if people come over, um, that our house is put together, and that, if somebody stops by, we're not going to be embarrassed, or whatever it is that kind of, I guess, goes through our mind as, um, guests come over. Um, we're missing opportunities sometimes to spend time with our friends, our family, our kids, because of trying to handle and manage the everyday of life. And I get it. I know some people might be looking at me going, "Yeah, that sounds like a fantasy. Like, of course, I would absolutely love to do those things, but a maid or a person to come clean the house for a day is $200. I don't have $200." Um, and I get all that stuff. And that's why, as you build things, you also have to allow yourself time. If you're just starting out your business and you're logging, late evenings, early mornings, eating, maybe not the best food, or whatever it is that you're kind of sacrificing to uh, to give at that time. Sometimes, hopefully, you're not sacrificing. I've talked to you guys about that. We can easily get very creative with things, but even though we can get creative, sometimes having, a personal cook, is just not possible until 10 years after we start our business or something like that. And that's when it's going to become urgent or important for us to get to that point. That first 10 years or 15 years, 20 years, or 2 years, you might not need that extra help. So again, it's things for you to assess. And as you have that infrastructure, the first part that we were building on, you'll kind of understand. You'll know, as you're looking at your everyday and what you're spending your time doing, you're going to say, well, man, I really got to spend a lot more time, uh, you know, coaching, or I got to spend a lot more time, on the road, uh, interviewing or giving, talks, or whatever it is. That's when, as that thing starts to scale, that's when you start to look at those other options and say, all right, this is what I need now to keep homeostasis, to keep my life within balance. So, it's funny, in the middle of chaos and everything going on with that structure fire, of course, handling priorities, working with my team. There was a pretty funny situation as we were getting ready to go into the fire. My lieutenant was giving an update on the radio and saying that we were getting ready to make entry into the building, and that our whole crew was together. Well, one of my crew members, he's a little bit of a newer employee. He somehow grabbed somebody else's jacket, and we have our last names on our jacket. So I'm looking at the body of this guy that I'm working with, and it, we when we're wearing all of our stuff, all you can see are like our eyes, and plus everything else going on. I didn't have time to like really like focus. But I'm looking, I'm thinking, this isn't the person that's on our truck. This isn't our third person. This he has to be on coming from a different truck. It turns out that the guy just grabbed somebody else's jacket, like I said. But I was thoroughly confused, and making sure that system uh, stayed and worked as it's supposed to. It's the role of everyone, right, to kind of help out and partake in that. So, yeah, there was a little bit moment of confusion. We had a good chuckle on it afterwards, because I was like, we can't go in, like we don't have our crew, and they were looking at me like, what do you mean? They're looking at me like, what do you mean? We're all right here. Like, I don't get it. So, probably a not my brightest moment, but I'm just trying to follow the system, trying to follow the system. It's there for us to implement, to use. So, uh, you know, that's what I was trying to do. You know, no harm, no foul. So definitely making work easy is a possibility for all of us. Sometimes I've spoken to people, and quite frankly, I've had it in my own personal life where I'm like, that stuff all applies to like everyone else. Like, that doesn't apply to me. Like, I'm just a W-2 employee or all that stuff. That's that talk that can get us into trouble. That's where we really start to create a lot of limits in our life. Um, as we take things off the table and we say like, no, those things aren't possible for me. That's just such a limiting belief that as we remove them, we can make this a great life. You know, removing those limiting beliefs. It's a must do. I think we come in into this world, and we have to kind of stumble sometimes, and we get some memories and some things in our mind that we had to go through some tough lessons, maybe as a teenager, or as young adult, or even into our adulthood, that sometimes we don't want to stick our hand on the hot stove again, or stick our hand in the socket. We don't want to get hurt. We don't want to make that mistake again. So we refrain from doing that stuff. And it's again, it makes sense. You're not alone. It happens to people. But the only thing for you to really try to focus on at that point is to really remove those limiting beliefs. And to do that, you have to face it. You have to identify it. You have to know, uh, what it is that you want to do, and kind of identify what it is that's keeping you from doing it, or why you're not doing it, and then just really work to remove that stuff out of your life. Uh, so yeah, make work easy for you. It's gonna be a life changer. Okay, um, it's possible for you. And honestly, like I was talking about those different tiers. Um, you may not see it fit for your life right now, but as you work through these different tiers, remember this conversation. Save it, share it, do whatever you got to do, or share it with someone that you think is there, or your partner, um, and get on the same page. That's another thing that we'll probably build on in another video. But making sure that line of communication between you and your employees, well, actually between you and we have like these two minds, right? You have kind of like the lower self and then the higher self. And in this case, we won't take the spiritual route. I'll take more of the anatomy route. All right. The lower self is like your amygdala, right? And that's like our panic button. All right. That's when we take information in. Like, if we saw a lion and we're in a big open field, we are going to panic. We're going to say, what are we going to do? We're either going to fight this lion, or we're going to take flight. We're going to try to run away from this thing. And that's our panic button. And that's our lower self. That's more of a reflex. That's more of a response. And what we have to do as humans in modern time, in this time, very real, is we have to allow ourselves time to work through those emotions, to let that adrenaline work through our body, so that we can process it through our higher self. Or in this case, again, the anatomy is our prefrontal cortex. Okay, our prefrontal cortex is where we bring a lot of logic into what's going on. Um, it says that, okay, you are in a very stressful situation. We'll say you're in an argument with someone, and you're very stressed out, your emotions are running high, and you're feeling like again, just very stressed out, when you let those emotions pass, you can get to that prefrontal cortex and understand, okay, you know, why am I upset? What are we working toward? How do we fix this type thing? So many times you see people say things that they don't mean, and they act out of action or out of emotion. And, you know, it's nothing to look down on yourself if that's happened to you. I pretty much want to say it's happened to everybody. It's happened to me. But the goal is to get better with that and understand, okay, those emotions are going to come. I'm going to feel this certain way. I'm going to feel like this, you know, punch in my gut, or I'm going to feel, you know, my pupils dilate. I don't know. And, you know, I'm going to let that pass, and I'm going to allow myself to think of this logically and see what it is that I need to do to process this information. So that's your lower self versus your higher self. So keep that line of communication open between yourself, first and foremost. You have to be honest with yourself. One of the toughest exercises that there is for people is to look at themselves in the mirror for like 15 minutes, not doing anything, just sitting there staring at themselves. It's a very powerful exercise that it allows you to see yourself. And sometimes there's things that we, you know, we key in on and we notice that we don't like about ourselves, and that's going to make us look away. And, um, you know, it's a very powerful exercise. It's probably giving a little bit away, but I'm going to have a very interesting and helpful course for you guys coming out real soon. And we're going to build even deeper, like extremely deeper, on a lot of this stuff to help us, you know, remove stress from our life. All right. So I'm not gonna give any more away. You guys are gonna have to keep watching, and I'll keep you guys updated with that. Like always, if you guys want to follow me on social media, Instagram and Twitter is at JRS Inspires, Facebook.com/JRS Inspires. I am on Blog Talk Radio at, you can probably guess it, JRS Inspires, and obviously here on YouTube. So until next time, guys, I'm Jonathan. I'm signing out. Peace. Please send me any messages, add your comments into this video. A lot of the questions that I get and a lot of things that I build on, I try to take from stuff that is either going on in my personal life, or a lot of times the things that you guys have questions on. I've answered a couple questions on here before. It's something that I enjoy doing, you know, being able to help you guys out. You know, it helps me out, and it energizes me. It helps me. Um, you know, do what I love to do, and that's just to help. All right. So until next time, guys, I'm Jonathan signing out. Peace.